All right, we're live, guys, and welcome everybody to another edition of Graders Notes here. Today's on Metarog's channel, so expect very, very low-tech stuff here from me and high-tech from everybody else. So that's just the way it goes. Kenny will be along here. He had to work late, but he will be along. You know, I figured by the time we do introductions and all that, that hopefully he'll be, driving down and getting in there, getting the quick drink, and then getting on here. But first, let's go. Let's introduce the crew that's here today. Well, right now, I should say. And let's go down there to, well, down, but really up because it's Canada. And, let's talk to the comic seer, none other than Dave, Mr. Miracle Comics. How are you doing today, sir?
I do well, sir. Thank you. Yeah, really interesting pick here, I must say, Roger. Atlas Comics, this little sort of blip in the Bronze Age, but it just keeps kind of reoccurring in comic collectors' lives over and over again. So picking Demon Hunter, I think was a good choice, and I'm really interested to see what your take on it was and what David's take on it was, and whenever Kenny gets here, his take on it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to today's show.
Yeah, you know what I did the first. I figured I'd just do it, and I put 4 comics on my community post, and let people vote what they wanted. I took the top 2, and then I let the chat 2 weeks ago decide what they wanted, just because I want to get more participation with our audience. But I am personally ecstatic that they picked that one. So, but we'll talk about that later. All right, let's go over to my brother over here in West Virginia and see what's going on with the Renaissance man and the community. This man can paint, he can build, he can review, he can pretty much do it all. That's why I call him the Renaissance of the community. How you doing, Genome?
Oh, I'm just doing dandy. Hope you fellas are doing well. Hope everyone in Chatland is doing as well. I, along with my compatriot down there, am also very keen on this book that you got back here. It's a nice kind of change of pace, and kind of like what Jackson says, a little comic company that tried, basically. So it's nice to get something from a little bit lesser known distributor and all that, and to see a story that's like really put forth professionally, So it's gonna be fun. Plus the cover's banging. So.
Well, if you've seen my videos, and you guys have, you know that I like the obscure stuff, right? I like the little companies that tried, at least. Yes. Skywald, Lightning, all these companies that most people have never heard of, but I'm fascinated by the fact that they tried to get into the comic industry and failed, sometimes not because of the product, but just because the time wasn't right for them, right?
Yeah.
And I think Atlas Seaboard is one of those companies.
But yeah, definitely could have been the image of their time.
They could have been the image of their time. Absolutely, that's a very good analogy. Very good analogy. Personally, I have a complete set, thanks to Collecting Chaos, and honestly, I think a lot of it is pretty good, even for the era, which is my favorite era in that mid-70s. I think a lot of it is pretty good. A lot of it is very derivative, but a lot of it is kind of edgier than most Marvels and DCs at the time. And so at the time, I thought it was cool because as a kid, you're like, oh, this is, a little bit more sassy than I'm used to. But now I really appreciate that the fact that they tried to be a little different in that sense.
Well,
yeah.
The Care Bears were more edgy than Marvel back then. So
yeah.
I don't have like the entire set of Atlas, but I do have the entire run of Demon Hunter.
We all do now. However,
I don't know if Kenny got his, but
I think he did. However, I will say that this character still lived on after this. But we'll talk about that
trivia there.
Yeah, I'm sure that Mr. Miracle knows about that because I know he's a historian of such things. All right, let's look at this chat, guys. Let's see who's in here joining us for this edition here. Now, again, Kenny will be along, so don't worry. He's a little late, he's working late. He's working for the slabs. So let's give him a break. In here tailgating our 5th grader who will be here in 2 weeks to take over for me. Unruly Simeon was in here. How you doing, Wayne? Great to see you. Las Cruces, 1971, 1971 was in here. Of course, I was. Collecting Chaos. I just talked about him. He is what a collection this man has. Wow. And he does those great videos about how he fixes the comics. Man, you got to check out his channel, guys. Mark Knapp.
Yeah, cool.
Mark Knapp, moderator extraordinaire. He just dropped a video. His brother is collecting all the appearances of the Punisher. Very impressive.
Ooh, man after my own heart.
Yeah, that's right, Genome. You're a big Frank Castle fan. BTC Moon Guy says he happens to own and read it. So thank you for joining and participating. We appreciate your input. Alex Big Blue, one of the best and nicest guys in the community. Love this man to death. Jackson Roy Kirk, what can you say? Chat superstar, chat super duper star is what I would call him. Thank you for being here, buddy. And comic collector Tim, great to be here. He's also dropped some pretty good videos, including one about some sketchy transactions he's had, but I think he's got some good perspective. Tricky Trapster, welcome. And James Gallegos, do not call me Gallegos, is in the chat as well.
It makes me want to put quarters into him for some reason. I have no idea. Or smash watermelons. I don't know.
If this man had $1 for every time his name is mispronounced, he'd be richer than,
well, spell it with a Y. They won't know how to say it. Oh.
Yeah, well.
He'd have an AF-15 by now, right?
My buddy Super Rust 9000, a video a day for a third of a year so far. That is very impressive.
I admire your gumption, sir.
Man, I tell you, I can barely get it once a week. So this man is just amazing. Grotu Orlov, all the way from Texas, talking about a great collection. Holy smokes, this guy! What he pulls out of that room, I mean, it's just matter of factly pulls out Silver Age stuff like nothing. Amazing. Novamad 1966, the bearded barber himself. How you doing, Brandon? And let's see who else we got here. Slim Comics and More. How you doing, Sean? Man, he's also got putting together quite a collection, and that he redid his wall. Man, it's impressive back there. We got some impressive people in this community, as you know. And K Titus, wow, all the way from Japan. What is it, like early morning? Oh, konnichiwa. Ken-san. Okay. That's about my Japanese right there. My daughter does speak Japanese, by the way, but I do not. Okay, guys, that's it. So let's get going. I'm sure Kenny will be here soon, but let's go at least start with the cover and see what it is. Now, let's do a little recap here, right? We would like your input after all the rest of us go, from 0 to 5 with half points in between. Cover, story, interior art, concept, and that's kind of an amorphous category, but certainly you can sort of decide whether this was some kind of money grab, whether this was a very innovative comic, or if it was just a run-of-the-mill run filler. Okay, and then overall, and then we will get together and ask you after each category what your grade is. So please hang on. We will try to get this going quickly. Try to get out of here before a couple hours. All right. So the cover, done by Rich Buckler, who also created this character. Again, this came out in September of 75, probably in this early summer of 75. So let's start with the comic seer himself and see what he thinks about this. Is this a cover that is worthy of his artistic talents, or is this something that should be relegated to the coloring books? Let us know about what you think, Mr. Miracle.
So this cover, I mean, this cover right away, it strikes me. I'm like, okay, this is a very Marvel-looking cover for the time, right? Obviously, Atlas, no fools. They're like, okay, who's the best-selling brand out there? Let's kind of emulate what their covers look like, and that's very much a very close to a Marvel cover at the time. And then when you're looking at this thing, keep looking at that, and you got, okay, wait a second, this guy's flying at a demon with two swords with a battle axe. He's all dressed in like a costume. Meanwhile, there's this huge flaming skull in a graveyard floating nearby. I mean, holy crap, what's not to like about that? I mean, that cover kicks ass, right? Like that's checking all kinds of boxes of goodness for comic books. The only problem I have a little bit with it is it tends to throw back a little bit. You know what I mean? This book came out in 1975, and this cover, I feel like it's just a little bit of a throwback to the 60s here of what you would kind of see back then. Still good, though. Still, like that skull in the background, like I said, demon guy, demon with two swords and the big battle axe guy. When I really took a good look at this cover, I was like, wait a minute, man, this is awesome. This is like everything, like I said, you want in a cover. Treatment's nice, like it's very much professional, not your typical run-of-the-mill, like what do you call it, independent publisher comic kind of looking, especially for this kind of era. It's very professional, very Marvel/DC kind of comic at the time, and yeah, I like it. It would, if I saw this on the shelf, it would definitely be in my, this is what I'm buying this week pile. And yeah, love the cover. Couple things that maybe kind of detracted for it. A little over heavy with certain parts of the inking that didn't make sense. I said a little bit of a dated sort of feel to it, a little too much for the time. Like not enough that it's nostalgic. It's just kind of oldish for 1975. And so I ducked it a little bit on that. But other than that, I gave the cover a 4. So I really, really like that cover.
Cool. Very cool. Very, very cool. Yeah, I didn't even consider what you said there about the sort of the throwback part. I think you're kind of right about that. Okay. All right. Nice. 4. Very nice. All right, Genome, take the second slot here. Let us know what you thought about this cover. Using your keen artistic eye, what did you find special about this, or is it?
I'm gonna go ahead and take the green screen off there because it cut off a lot of this book. So, okay, Dave is right. This is a fun throwback yet semi-modern kind of take on a cover, and I dig it. I dig the treatment. I dig the trade dress up here. Atlas Comics is a little bit big and distracting, but I mean, I guess they had to try to sell something right there. So, I really dig this cover, man. It's wonky in a way. It's weird. It's like, are these guys floating? But then again, maybe they're supernatural and they're levitating. Who knows what it is? But like, I just love this like miniature Stonehenge down here, the gravestones, whatever, and they got the flaming skull in the background. It's like totally crazy. There's like lots of stuff going on here, but at the same time, it's kind of simple, and I just dig it, man. The cake is a little bit wonky on Gideon here, to be honest with you, and I don't know about the onks there either. I thought it was he was doing like a Austin Powers thing there for a second, but I dig it, man. You got the dude. It looks kind of like Mr. Miracle crossed over with like Captain Britain or something, with Doctor Strange's cloak, wielding He-Man's battle axe, and then you got this guy with the shish kebab, freaking bent like scimitar, almost like but dagger type swords. Got his hands inverted. That's a very unusual pose, by the way, but kind of nifty. I don't know. I dig it, man. I like the little extra thing he put on the demon's legs. It's a throwaway demon. It's no big deal about him, but just a little extra care. Got kind of a Morbius feel to his face. Doesn't even focus in. Doesn't like those close-ups. But anyway, I dig it, man. The only thing that I might have changed is I might have changed the color of the demon a little bit more, because he tends to blend a little too much with the skull, the blues on the skull. But I dig it. I give this one a 4 myself. I think it's just a fun cover. I would immediately, like, even the trade dresser grabbed me walking by. And I think it's a great cover, and looks a lot more professional. It's very, very time specific, though. It definitely harkens back a little bit to more of the horror books, but I dig it. I give it a 4. I really like it a lot.
Oh, I see a pattern forming here. Cool, very cool. Man, you guys have always come up with all these little nuances that I didn't notice at first glance, which is why I like to hear you guys first on the cover. All right, I guess I'll go next. I guess Kenny might be a little bit late here, but we'll see. We'll see if we can get him in here. All right, so I mean, it's hard to add what these two gentlemen have already talked about, right? But to me, I saw this on the rack. Oh, I think it was 7-Eleven back in '75. My brother would take me to 7-Eleven either once a month or twice a month. I don't remember exactly. And I saw this and I said, "Hey, I'd like to have this." And he's like, No, you can't have that. They didn't like me to have scary things, because nightmares or whatever. And my brother, obviously he was much older. He's 10 years older than I am. So he was, very wise at that point, right? So I couldn't have it. But when I saw it, man, I wanted this so bad because this really draw me in. 13 of these headstones here. All right. So there's something bad happening, right? I mean, if you're even the least bit superstitious, notice most elevators don't have a 13th floor. At least they didn't. Maybe now they do. And I really like the title here with the demon kind of having kind of a off-center kind of look with the red highlight and the hunter with like the three-dimensional effect here. I just think that's really well done. The Atlas, it's kind of mimicking the Marvel banner, you notice, because Guzman, we'll get into that later. Guzman used to work for Marvel. He actually wanted to sort of be competitive with them. But I like the black background. It sort of gives it even the more kind of morbid or mysterious look. And what can you say about the skull and the placement of the two characters? So you can see the eyes blazing. You can see the fire in the maw there. You can see Demon Hunter with the Labrys here, double-bitted axe, and the double extended daggers coming in. You know that there was going to be action. You know that there was going to be, some kind of demonic theme here. You knew that this was something that if you were a kid, you were attracted to. And really, the cover is sort of like the first, assault on trying to buy this comic, right? I mean, you have this little blurb that says "Fantastic Origin." Well, a lot of those had that. That doesn't do me here nor there. Yeah, the one thing I kind of don't like is that the cape looks a little wonky now. The cape, when we get into the story, you're going to see it's very important, and it's this way for a reason, right? But it's kind of like I wish it would have folded it a little bit, maybe, just so that it doesn't dominate that part so much. But I really like the shadowing here. Yeah, Genome is right. Are they airwalking? I mean, but artistic license. But to me, this is pretty close to a perfect cover as far as selling it. I mean, as far as this all these elements are in the comic, and they're not trying to cheat you in any way. Great colors in here. I mean, the leather of the demon here and the blue, it kind of does overshadow a little bit, but still, to me, it's not that overshadowing. I went a little higher than you guys did, 4.5. Again, there's just a little nitpicks, but man, as far as a kid, if you wanted a comic, if you wanted a cover to attract a kid, this is pretty close to what it should be. 4.5.
Yeah, I was on the verge of that 4.5, right? But I said just a couple of little things that kind of gave a little half point off here, a little half point off there, but really well done cover, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. It's nitpicking. A couple guys have come in here. My buddy Mike Night Tiger, who I was with this past weekend, is in here. Welcome. And Sharon, Life with two YouTubers, is in here. I'm not big on ice cream. I'm eating artichoke hearts. You're healthy. You're a healthy person. And Jambo's in here. Yeah. Wow, we got some heavy hitters in here.
Biggie's in the chat too. That's
right. Biggie was in here. New World Order. That's right. NWO. All right. So looks like Kenny's skipping this one, but we'll get his grade afterwards, Genome, and you can add it in. So let's kick it to the chat. You've seen the cover. You don't need to have read it. You saw 3 copies of it. What do you think? Is this, are we off base here? Is this, something that is really not as good as what we're seeing? Or do you agree that this is, up in the upper echelon of covers, even though it's from a very obscure, very small publisher? So let us know what you think of this cover.
We prefer to call them boutique publishers there, Roger.
Boutique publishers? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Boutique publishers. Nice. Very nice. I'll remember that. I have a lot of those boutique publishers.
So don't remember that he's just being foolish.
Hi, Tiger. I ain't gonna work with that number. You got to do better.
I guarantee you, comic collectors are not going to pick up on boutique collector.
James, what are you doing with the 4.25? Come on. We'll round it up if that's the case.
Oh, we got a 5 in the chat. Sweet.
And Mike, is that a 5 or is that a 4.5? Come on.
Ooh, Russ didn't care for it. A blue wrench.
Oh. Hey, everybody has their right to their opinion. No problem.
Yeah, unless it's wrong like that.
All right, 4.5 from Mike. Okay. 4.89. Yeah, I should have said before, please, no, algorithms, no, percent, 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.55. That's it.
Hit us again, James. Don't be a hanging Chad.
Otherwise, Genome will do the same thing we do. We'll just round it up.
Mm-hmm. And technically, it's going to round up to 4 or 5 anyway, but
yeah.
I think he's just making it hard on me.
it's getting vicious out there.
It is. Russ is angry. You reminded me he has to do a video tomorrow, so he's taking it out on his book's cover.
That's right. Oh man. All right, let's wrap it up. Genome, you doing the calculations there?
Yep, just waiting to see if James comes back in with a real score. Give him a few more seconds here.
All right.
If you want to pronounce your last name correctly, give us a good score.
And Jambo got in a score there. I don't know if you noticed that.
Got it. Okay. Not really jumping out at you. Too bad it did pop up in your random reads videos.
That's fair.
Ooh, we got another 5. 2 5s.
Wow, grow 2. Yeah. Man has good taste, man. Let me tell you. You've got to see his stuff, man. He's got good taste.
It's a sweet cover. That would be a cool poster to have. Even with the trade dress on it.
Or even like a shirt with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's a shame. It's a shame that things didn't work out for Atlas Seaboard because they could have been. They had some good characters. I mean, they had some crummy ones too, but they did have some good ones.
I'm gonna give him a 4.5. So I think I just messed everything up. Your 4.5 screwed me up completely. Hold on. Minus.
Oh boy. It's better than the average for me. That's high praise for Biggie, because if it's not a Kirby,
okay, yeah, that's true.
Or a Swan, he generally is problematic, has problems with it, right? All right, so what do we got, Genome?
This first one always takes a little while because we have so many people.
Okay.
3.5.
3.5. Okay.
3.5.
All right. That's fair, I suppose.
We had a couple 5s and a 2, so those really throw the the mean into the washing machine, if you will. So
yeah. I think that's fair. I mean, it has some little issues to it. To me, though, I mean, some of the covers I've seen, the last 20 years, this sticks out from that for sure. All right, guys. Let's keep going. Let's keep it going. We'll get Kenny's score in this in when he comes back in. Let's skip over the art. We just talked about the cover. Let's skip over that part. Let's go to the story itself. All right, which is maybe a bit of a different than the cover, score wise. Genome, you went second this time, right?
I did.
Okay. All right, so let's see what you think of this story, because the cover is one thing, right? That sells the comic, but the story is what continues selling the comic. So what do you think about this? Is this something that was well done, or is this something which was like put together just because we like pretty covers?
Well, I think the cover or the story within ties in a lot with the kind of chaos of the cover. There's a lot going on in this book, and maybe a little too much for its own good. But let me get into what I think about the story within. This is a really well fleshed out first edition book. There's a little bit of mystery behind the character, but you learn enough about him that you don't have to read issue 2 just to realize what his name is, right? You know his name is Gideon Cross. It's a really cool name, by the way, for a comic book character. So we learn about his past. He was a Vietnam vet, came back, and this is something. This book was what, 75? I think it was.
Yes.
So people weren't talking about like people coming back from Vietnam, not coming back to warm welcomes too much, outside of maybe some rock and roll and folk groups, right? So yeah, he had a rough time over there, and he came back to a horrible situation. Not only was he not coming home to cheering crowds, but his wife ran off on him, and he descended into alcoholism and criminality. And apparently we find out he had some sort of psychic power or telekinesis going on. And so it's like this gigantic snowball, but it's told in a kind of, dare I say, like a Tarantino way, where it kind of starts with the middle, then goes to the beginning, and then goes to now. It's kind of an interesting little mix, but I mostly liked it. Some things I didn't care for. I just think it was a little wordy. I would like to see him a little more silent. He was very inner monologue-y. And I realize this is the first issue, and you kind of want to lay the groundwork what this guy's all about. But there was a lot going on. It was not an exceptionally long read, but it took a little while to read. I don't know if that makes any sense. It's just every panel was basically crammed full of text, and so I could have done without some of that, leave a little more mystery to the guy. And but it was a really cool notion. I like the whole idea behind this character, even though I don't really know what makes him tick yet. I like the fact that like he's working for this cult, and he's just trying to find a way in life. This is how bad his life was. Like that, joining a cult and doing scut work for them seemed like a better option than what he was doing. So kind of a cool thing, but it looks like he's got this power that he's tried to hide his whole life, and now he finally gets a chance to use it. So be it for good or for ill, he's like almost like drunk on the ability to go do this, right? And so he's working for unscrupulous characters. I kind of dig it, man. He's got a weird power set. Don't really know what it is yet. He seems to have some physical prowess, and he seems to have like Cloak before Cloak was made in Marvel, like abilities, but even more, he can manifest stuff out of this void that he carries around with him. Kind of cool. He can like cloak himself and cast illusions over himself to make people think that he's someone, looks like something different. He's walking around in full costume. I dig the character. I really dig the pathos of what this makes this guy tick. You don't find out all of it, but I just kind of dig it, especially from the time frame that he came back to a pretty bad home life, right? Into a nation that wasn't accepting him, a wife that left him, and he just jumped into criminality, basically, and alcoholism. And like Wayne says, he basically lived Unruly Simeon's lifestyle, but then he decided to go work for a cult. I'm not sure if you're working for the Branch Davidians or anything there, Unruly, but cool story. I just think it was executed a little poorly in spots. I think it was just a little too wordy for its own good, but it was a cool. I think this book could have been split into 2 books pretty easily, and I don't think it'd been the worse for wear. And something that may not even get brought up at all, this book is half advertisements, which is kind of weird too. It's really jarring, and they're like dual page advertisements, so it's constantly, every time you turn a page, you got to turn 2. It's strange, but I like it. I like the story. I like the character. I like to learn more about him. I just wish he would, ease up on the inner monologue a little bit and let the story progress on its own. And I think it was intriguing and a really cool concept. I gave it a 3.5 for the inner story. I dig it.
Nice. 3.5. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. I mean, you came up with some good points, which I was going to talk about myself.
Oops.
No, of course, that's all right. That's why we all go different. So at least we have one turn that we're first, and we can, we just need the marrow for
everybody else.
Oh man. Yeah. A lot of a lot of ads. Perfect for Metarog. I do like to read the ads. I do like to read them.
I think there was some Charles Atlas. You got Black Belt and Anaconda Men, and then baseball games.
You got I had that Stratomatic baseball game, by the way.
Did you?
I had that one. My brother and I used to play that.
But it's like 2 pages later. It's again 2 pages is like there were a
it's
lot of ads in this.
A lot of ads.
It's like a modern comic book. Like they were doing it before it was cool, though.
That's the Marvel template from this time too. 2 pages of story, 2 pages of ads. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I really noticed the ads on that too as well.
Hey Ryan, how you doing, buddy?
It breaks up the experience a little bit.
All right, I guess I'll go next here. I'm not going to make myself big because it's just going to talk about it really. Okay, so man, I'm so torn about this story because I like the character. I agree with Genome. Great character, fantastic character. But I'm going to give that one a little bit more credence in the concept than the story, right? And again, he's I lived through this, right? I mean, the soldiers coming back from an unpopular war, and what are they coming back to? A lot of people, thought that that these guys were scum. A lot of them just thought that they were, tools of the government, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of them were ostracized, like this here, his wife leaves him, and she just disappears. Like just took off with another guy, And so it talks about themes that you don't see a lot in comics at this time: alcoholism, drug use, going into organized crime, things like that, which again are great concepts, right? And but Genome is right that the story it's hard for me to describe, but it drags in certain parts. There's really only one action sequence, unless you want, with the demon guy. There's a lot of setup, and then it sort of drops you at the end. That's not the fault of the comic per se, because they're supposed to continue. But to me, it just wasn't a fun read. It was interesting in parts, and it was compelling in parts, but it didn't really deliver the way that I would like it to. It was almost like he was trying to figure out what he already knew. That when you join a cult and you have somebody slash their hand and drop blood in a little bottle, I mean, wouldn't that sort of send signals off that this is probably not on the up and up? And he was kind of like a little too mushy there, sort of justifying that to me. So that kind of threw me off. It's like I think Genome said, it was a very complicated story for one issue. They tried to bite off more than they could chew here. It seems like to me. We have his we got a very short little synopsis, like little panels where you see where he got the cloak, but how he got into the good graces of the cult, it wasn't really explained. It just kind of glossed over. But again, if they would have done that, it would have even dragged the story down even more, So great character. I like the plot. I don't like the way it was executed necessarily. It just tried to be too much for what it is. Give me a little bit more about how he used his powers, give him some better enemies other than that one demon, which was just like a 1-page fight, really. I'd like to see a little more of that rather than all this dialogue, because even though I like to read comics, I still like to be entertained by them. And the story, better than average for sure, but it wasn't something that I would say, wow, this is really good writing stuff. The dialogue was just okay. So to me, this is a 3. Better than average. I like what they tried to do, but the way they executed it, it just dragged down the comic a little too much. I don't know what else to say. It intrigues me, but it doesn't really entertain me. I don't know if that's dichotomous or not, but that's what I got, a 3.
Yeah, it could be high concept and poor execution, I thought the concept of Raver was kind of cool. It was poorly executed, but I thought the protagonist was kind of an interesting idea,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Agreed. All right, so 3.53. Dave, take us away. What did you think about this story? You want to go big or you want to stay small?
Oh, I don't care either. So what did I feel about the story? Definitely the story was my lowest grade. One of the things I do like about it, it's not a whole, they did a good job of not being first issue-itis with this thing, right? Larry Lieber was the editor at the time, or I believe.
Yes, he was.
Yeah. We all know him. He came over from, Marvel Comics. He's Stanley's brother, one of the co-creators of Iron Man, that guy. Again, we have, I don't think it was bad though. Like it was wordy, but you got to get a little bit of this wordiness out because it's first issue, right? We're trying to set a scene. We're trying to get a character going, plus trying to tell a story all in the same 32 issue or whatever. Probably less because there is quite a bit of advertising in this book, right? So I don't know how much less pages than a Marvel comic it would have. But yeah, the story wasn't terrible. It made sense. There's we've gone over thousands. We've gone over dozens of stories here on Graders Notes that make no sense. Don't make a lick of sense at all, right? And we're like, what the heck is going on? This one makes sense, right? I mean, there's obviously we're figuring out who this guy Gideon is. We understand his motivations here. We kind of go through that, always part of this cult. Yeah, we don't set up any really big villains for him, but that's not really the focus of a first issue. More, I think that big villain is kind of set up in the last panels, right, where they're bringing back Azeroth. I think that's what his name is. One of the big demons of hell, one of the dukes of hell or whatever, is brought back on Earth by this cult. And, Gideon here, the demon hunter, he's like, now I have a purpose. Now I know what to do to stop this guy, right?
Yeah.
So they're kind of setting up his, big baddie here. You don't want to necessarily hit you in the face with everything that this character is going to do in your first issue. I'm sure the writer didn't realize it was going to be his last issue as well, obviously, or he may have done other things. A couple parts of it feel rushed. Like you said, they kind of gloss over a bit of his backstory. I assume that they have plans to kind of expound on that in later issues. His whole interaction with the cult may be explored over a few more issues, a little bit down the line, establishing more bigger bad guys and stuff. But I thought it was good. I didn't think it particularly, like I said, it got really nicely away from first issue-itis. They touched on his powers, but they didn't explain the heck out of everything. And they didn't have to show you every little thing that this guy does, right? And everything about him all in one issue. So I would have really liked to see what issue number 2, what he had written. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's got to be scripts for 2 and 3 that just were never published, but because it seemed to me like they were going to start going somewhere with this story. Just not enough time, and I thought it was okay. I didn't think it didn't totally draw me in, and there were some parts that were maybe because they had less pages, they were just cramming a lot of dialogue into these little panels. So it was wordy at points, and you're like, whoa, what's going on? And you had to kind of go back a little bit of tiny panels and tons of them. You know what I mean? You're like, what? Reading all this, trying to read all this stuff. Anyway, the story made sense. Wasn't the worst thing worst story I've read. So I gave it a serviceable, especially for a first issue. I gave it a 2.5.
2.5. Nice.
Yeah, that's a great point, Dave. I didn't really make that either. It was there was no Marvel was terrible at this time about it, naming every power and move he does. When I use my extending hand to hit him with my power fist, it was none of that in this.
Yeah.
Which was kind of cool.
I hit him with my power fist that I got when I was once touched by it's oh,
yeah.
It's every little thing.
Yeah, you're right. It kind of got away from that. It was more subtle in this issue, that's for sure. It was more subtle.
Yep.
And it worked. That part worked. Yeah. All right, let's kick it out to the chat, and I got a little bit of a discussion with the character and his future, but let's kick it over to the chat. If you read this comic, or if you just want to make an opine based on what we said here, that's fine and dandy. But give us some story grades if you've read this. Now, I know Jackson Roy Kirk has read it. I know Mike has read it, Night Tiger. So I know we got at least 2 grades in there. Let's see who else is brave enough to grade this one. So, guys, this story was written by David Anthony Kraft, right? Yes, David Anthony Kraft. Okay. Then, Atlas folded, but the character was actually owned by Rich Buckler, and he came back. Let me make myself big here just so that it gets a little bit bigger. He came back in Marvel, but here he was called Devil Slayer. But if you see, it's the same. They had to change his name. Now it's Eric Simon Payne, not Gideon Cross, but same powers exactly. And he met up with another Rich Buckler creation, Deathlock, which they had similarities. They were both Vietnam veterans. So they brought him into the fold. And then, Dave, you said, well, there's probably some scripts out there. Well, not only is there scripts out there, what they did is that they finished off the story in Defenders. And if you look at the inside of this, and I'll show it to you, the story is called Xenogenesis, which is what the demons were trying to bring into the world. Notice right down there in that little circle, Xenogenesis. And it's written by, coincidentally, or not so coincidentally, David Anthony Kraft. So, the character did live on in a slightly different iteration in Marvel, but it is the exact same character because Atlas Seaboard actually was a pioneer in creator rights. And Scorpion, which was an Atlas Seaboard character, was also ported over to Marvel under the Dominique Fortune name. So if you want to read the full story, read Defenders 58, 59, and 60, and you'll see, I think, what they wanted to accomplish here.
And then Scorpion was picked up by Midway.
Very cool.
And then,
yeah.
Midway.
That's right.
Oh, that's Scorpion.
Hey, Aggressively. Hey, BTC again. I'm glad thank you for joining us. Let's see, what grades do we got here? 2.5. Just going with what I heard. That's fine.
I mean, that seems that's a fair one. If the actual lead character wasn't as interesting, it could have been that score easily. Because everything around him was kind of bland, really.
Yeah.
And he wasn't overly demonstrative himself, but that's fine. I can dig on that because he's like a hired killer and a hired goon, and he's traumatized by war, so I wouldn't expect him to be overly demonstrative.
Yeah.
But
Jackson did not like. I kind of figured when he said he fell asleep when he read it, so that it wasn't scintillating. I was kind of into it at the beginning, but then I don't know. It just kind of drags for me in parts.
Yeah. I wanted to like it more than I did, but I still found some enjoyment in it.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah.
I didn't
Poor
mind
guy. It's funny. Jody ran off with this guy's wife. That's what we used to call him in the military, is Jody. That was always the guy back home that steals your wife while you're deployed.
Oh, is that right?
They sing songs about it when you're running in formation. Like Jody's at home with your old lady and stuff. Yeah, it's bad.
Oh, okay. This is interesting. With Sinnot on the inks, those were masterpieces. Oh, what are they referring to here?
Buckler probably on Fantastic Four.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right, Genome, go ahead and total it up. Let's get going. I don't like to keep these gentlemen around any longer than necessary. Looks like Kenny got really hung up at work today, so no problem.
Man's got to make the gravy.
You got it. He's also got a significant other now, so his life is becoming a little more complicated.
So it's going to come in at a 2.5. It's like a 2.64. So,
Mr. Miracle is beating his chest right now.
Good call. Good call.
Good one, Miracle. Hey, even a broken clock is right twice a
Twice
day,
a
right?
day, that's right.
Yeah, right.
Even a Timex. All right. And since looking back, Jody's got your friend the wrecking. It's funny how many songs you sing about Jody. Yeah.
Oh man.
That's what happens, though.
Oh, man.
A lot of marriages ruined in deployments.
Well, I'm glad you got those Defenders books, so you can sort of see where I think they were trying to go with the series. Not exactly, because it was in a Defenders context. But.
So Marvel didn't buy the rights up to these guys? Well, why not?
Yep.
Seems
They
weird.
probably could have gone for nothing, right?
I don't know how, Buckler, I know he worked on that Marvel Spotlight. That was the last Marvel Spotlight. And because, they just trying to wrap up the Deathlock storyline, he used his character there. So, I'm not sure how that came about, but I thought it was cool because I recognized when I saw that Marvel Spotlight, I was like, I know this guy.
Well, yeah, the Xenogenesis definitely sticks out too, the word. So,
right. Well, Defenders was I think about a year after that Marvel Spotlight, or a year and a half after. But definitely when I recognized the character, obviously the cape is orange and the costume is blue, but it's the same. He got the same anks and the whole bit, So
they just reversed those two things, really.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's get to the art, fellas. I guess I'll go first since I haven't yet. The interior art. All right, so Rich Buckler, to me, is a really, maybe not in the realm of George Perez, but actually he hired George Perez for that to help him on Deathlock, Astonishing Tales, but that's another story. But to me, he's actually a much better than average penciler. Now, a lot of people have said that his style is not distinct, but I see distinct parts in his style. If you followed his career, Fantastic Four, Astonishing Tales, you can see that he is a workhorse. Really, he had several titles working on at the same time. But I'm only grading this issue. All right. So first of all, you'll see that he has a somewhat unusual way of laying out certain panels. It's like these little, it's almost like staccato panels here. They're like little pillars down there to convey the action in a sort of a time-lapse way, right? And I'm not sure if it works all that good in this instance, but I do like this third splash page where you see the full figure of the Devil Slayer, and the Harvester's Eye is that's what they call the role of him in the cult, right? And there is a nice splash there of the character full figured. By the way, did you notice this, guys? Where it says dedicated to Buck Dharma and the boys? You see that? You know what that's referring to?
Got me.
Blue Oyster Cult.
Don't fear the Reaper, my friends.
Yep, fear the Reaper. You got it. Yeah. It's a little bit of a Easter egg that he put in there. I forgot to mention that during the story. But I thought that was pretty cool. All right, let me continue.
Never heard of him.
What was that?
Never heard of him.
Never heard. Yeah, right. Okay, so again, the action is pretty well relayed. I like the musculature that he has here. He does have a good eye for sort of putting the people in place of the story situation, and I like his face is okay. They do show some emotion there. The one thing I really, I think the inking here is just a little muddy for my taste. Like this gentleman here, he's supposed to have a scar on his face right there. And I think it's pretty clear there. His face is pretty clear, but over here, I don't know. It just seems like kind of out of focus to me. I know my light is not doing this much justice here. And you see some of the backgrounds are a little bit sparse here and there. But he does have a good way, like this leaning here, he's sort of thinking, right? He's sort of trying to reason things out, and he's got that little receptacle for the blood there. You know, again, I think in the storytelling mode, there's like these flashbacks, and you can see where he's thinking here. He's using the receptacle here, and he's thinking back about when he first met the cult. And notice that it sort of blends into the same panel where he's thinking about it and where the flashback is sort of a progression there. I thought that was pretty well done. But again, I think the art is good, but I wouldn't say spectacular. There are places like, you know, when he draws the big figure of Demon Hunter, which I really like. I think he's got some good musculature there. I think the anatomy is pretty good there, but here and again there are little wonky parts of like this elbow here, for example, where he's opened that door. It looks a little odd the way it's bent over. That seems like an unnatural position, right? And the cape is a weird kind of thing to draw because he controls it somewhat. So otherwise he'd be tripping all over it if it just sagged. But it's kind of odd the way that he has to draw it. It's so long and so full that it just looks a little odd here and there. That's not a critique of the art. I'm just saying of that particular design. And you got like these monsters here, like this 6-armed beastie here. That's pretty cool, you know, but nothing over the top spectacular. It definitely, I like how he has the dark lines there in this page, sort of connotate that this is a flashback, or, you know, when before he was Demon Hunter. It sort of gives you a little bit of a hint there that this is not part of the sequential story. So that's a good little trick. And here's a full panel here where they're transferring over the soul from the demon into this guy. But, you know, it's not that sharp. I wish it was much sharper. I wish the colors were a little bit, you know, more saturated. It just looks a little bit underwhelming there. I like the concept of the art, but I don't like the way it's executed in that particular panel. There's a lot of monochrome panels and blue and red, things like that. It's okay here and there, but I think it's overdone. I do like the facial and eyes right there. That's really good detail there. I like that. It's effective as far as trying to convey the state of mind at the time. So overall, I think it's much better than average. I don't like the inking. It was just a little bit too muddy for me. Rich Buckler inked himself here, so you would think, you know, I can't give that problem to somebody else. But I think he's a much better penciler layout guy than the ink part. That part, I think, I get that it's sort of a supernatural theme, so that, you know, you can have a little bit of muddiness here and there, but there are parts that had nothing to do with that. Just, you know, the parts with the gangsters and so on and so forth, which just needed to be sharper for me. So what did I grade this at? I graded at a 3.5 because I did like the designs and I did like his layouts, but the inking really was not good here at all. 3.5.
It's pretty reasonable.
Yep, 3.5 it is. Telling it like it is there, Raj. Telling it like it is.
Telling it like it is, man. I mean, I'm a big Rich Buckler fan, but, you know, I just like we do with Kirby or Byrne or whoever.
No one is safe.
We talk about what is in front of us. You know, I wanted to like the art better, but I can't. The inking was way too distracting. All right, Mr. Miracle.
Hello.
Take us away, sir.
The interior art. I too am a fan of Rich Buckler, right? I think his work on Fantastic Four was, well, fantastic. Right? I was quite a big fan of that. I don't think his work here in this comic is poorly done. It's probably not the best thing I've ever seen him do, but definitely, you know, not bad. Yeah, you have your odd little spots that are kind of weird. Sometimes but I mean, when you get demons that look weird, demons are supposed to look weird, right? Like, and when you get, I mean, kind of weird poses and stuff, well, they're supposed to be all bendy and weird as well, right? This cool monster. I love that monster. Oh shit. Oops. Yeah, he went through it. I mean, I like his depiction of things. His splash pages are good, but this whole, demon coming to life and possessing that guy's body is cool. It's not, like I said, I've seen him do better, but I've seen him do worse as well. I didn't have any kind of a problem with this art in here, that's for sure. I wouldn't give it full. It's not going to get a 5 out of me in any way like that. But I full on agree with you that he did himself a disservice, not getting a better inker than himself, right? Like, inking is a skill, and some artists can really grasp it well, and other artists don't, right? Or they think they do, and they haven't got quite the professional, like, clean inking that could have been done here. So I think that, yeah, he did himself a disservice. Like, look at him, like, essentially wipe his face right out with that big black ink mark right in the middle of his face, right? I get it, it's a nose shadow, but you don't have to, like, put that much black on there. It looks weird. Anyway, little things like that kind of pulled the grade down. I think it could have been quite a bit better marks out of me. I would have enjoyed the art much better if the inking was better. I think Rich did a pretty good job. I really like a lot of this stuff. I really like the design of this character. He's very throwback. You know what I mean? Back to those pulpy, the Phantom, the Phantom Stranger, that kind of, pulpy, early sci-fi genre kind of thing. Buck Rogers, that kind of days. The Blue Beetle maybe back then looks a lot, kind of reminds me of that kind of character. So for the interior art, I gave it a 3.5 as well. Right here, it's good. I liked it, but had over inking. Right?
Yeah, nice.
So 3.5.
That panel you showed is a really good example there. Yeah, it's almost like you can't really see any detail because it's just so overly done.
It's
a
blacked
good,
out. Right.
yeah. So yeah, 3.5. Okay, that seems to be the trend. Genome, hit us with your grades and analysis, please.
All right. Well, first of all, I really dig this kind of art style in a comic book. This is like one of my favorite styles there is. So kudos to that. I can dig on it. It's not overly stylized, except for where it needs to be. Like Dave was saying on the demons and stuff, who are amorphous anyway, right? So they have no normal shape, so they can look however they want to look. But for the most part, there's some good shots here. It's weird, and when you talk about the inking, it's like he tries to crosshatch a lot, his inking too, which is strange, but it's definitely better than when he gets the heavier hand. So like right here in this face right here, when he just uses the pencil to ink instead of getting heavy, with the Sharpies or whatever, it looks good. Same with these tombstones, that's a better shadow for this guy, and it works well. I think the airplane's really well done. I like that shot quite a bit. This book is like really hot or cold, man. There's some times when it's great. Like, I like this lounging shot of him just laying there. I think it looks awesome. Very Buscemish right there. Kind of cool, right? Every now and then, like, his connections, like the elbow bend or whatever, starts to get a little weird. Like, just a little off, and you feel like erasing it and putting it back where it needs to be. So you see that a couple times in here, but it's not bad. And man, I don't know what the deal was with this mob guy. You're right, man. It's like his face is always just terrible. I mean, the face itself looks good, but you can't see it. He's got so many scratch marks and things in there. That's the only time you can see it clearly is this panel right here. The rest of the time, it's like this over here. And I know he's supposed to have a scar, but just one scar on his face. And it's like, he's all wrinkly looking, and it's just, it doesn't work, man. So that part's bad. But for every one of those panels you get something really cool like, sorry, I'm skipping over ads here. This splash page is something else, but it's ruined somewhat by these other panels they stick up here. That was a very bad idea of them to put that there, because that would have been so cool. It's like this cavern demon maw is actually I don't know if it's like a portal that they can look in the future with, or this is exactly what's happening and where the actual seance or whatever is taking place. But it's like a physical thing. So that's really cool, man. I think it's such a cool looking little splash right there. And good looking demon there. Good looking seance that's going on back there. So for like everything that's bad, there's usually two things that are good in this. So I can dig it. A lot of it's kind of nondescript. Another bad point is this guy doesn't want to do backgrounds, man. There's like almost no backgrounds in any of these panels. Mm-hmm. It's all out of like pastels and some primary colors. So that part's a little lazy too. Yeah, I'm wondering too if they knew the writing was on the wall before they even finished, because like I'm not going to do the bare minimum on this. But like this looks really good. Like him walking right there. I like the asymmetrical taskmaster cape he's got going on there. I dig on that. It's a wonky design with the head covering, and the eye on it, but everything else I really like. That's all right, cool. Put the onks on the freaking leg. The outfit looks cool. So yeah, it's a tough one to judge. I give it the same score as you guys did, a 3.5, because I really dig that art style. And there's enough flashes of greatness in there to definitely bring it above mediocrity and the rest of a lot of the other schlock that was going on at the time. But yeah, there's definitely issues with it. Lack of backgrounds and some really poor inking here and there, and excess hatching and all that. That really brings it down a notch. So 3.5. I mean, it's much better than average, I'd say, and definitely not some journeyman work, but just left a little bit to be desired.
Yeah, nice job. Yeah, that you're right. That cross hatching, it's like when he did the line work, like you said, it's really good. But when he did that heavy stuff, it's really bad. So I don't get it. I mean, couldn't you have some kind of moderate inking? Did it have to be one or the other extreme?
I mean, back then they were probably paying $20 a page for inkers. I mean, just shell out.
Man, I tell you, wow.
But
all right. Great stuff, guys. Great stuff. I love the way you guys got into the art on this. So let's kick it back to the chat. What did you guys think about this art? You saw we showed some pages, so even if you didn't read the comic, if you want to make a determination based on that, that's fine. Buckler, to me, is one of those Bronze Age artists that doesn't get a lot of talk, a lot of shine, but I agree with Miracle. His stuff in Fantastic Four was really good. And that is in the shadow of Buscema, right? So it held up. It held up. It's not Buscema, but it held up. So what did you guys think? I mean, let us know, and we'll talk about a little bit about it more.
Another panel I really liked over here was this one right here, where it's got the extended arm in the foreground. I think that's a really cool shot, too. Nice little perspective piece there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. There's lots of good shots for sure. Especially the bigger when he draws him on a vertical. I think that those are really good. I think you mentioned this one. I did too. Let me put this one here. Oh, sorry, I put the wrong person. Hello.
That's a 4 right there. Oh.
That's almost like. See, this is a really smart panel layout, right? He wants to show, the cape and how it can be controlled, or how it sort of has different ways that it lays, I guess. And then but there's a lot of dialogue there, so he puts it up there and down there without obscuring the body. So I mean, I think that, things like that were smart. But then you see. Some really weird things. This is neat. I mean, I just think this is a neat little feature here, where you see the tongue of the demon here, and it's very what do you call that movie with the possession?
Oh yeah, Poltergeist, but Exorcist.
Exorcist, yeah, very Exorcist-like.
I was gonna say it's very Gene Simmons-like, but all right.
Yeah, that's right. Again, he's got some really good stuff in here, but.
You might go see a little better here.
The inking is so distracting to me. Hold on.
There's his tongue, like there.
Yeah.
Good one.
Gene Simmons, tear your heart out.
That's right.
Okay, let's see what we got here.
Score.
Okay, Biggie. I kind of expected this a little bit. Okay.
Well, the chat comes in at a 3, so a little bit lower than all of our 3.5.
Okay. All right. That's fair. That's fair.
As a whole, it's definitely a positive. It's just that there's a lot of stuff missing inside. And once again, maybe because it was a one-man show that some things had to be cut for time. But
yeah, it's possible. It's possible. I mean, my understanding is that Guzman was actually like his offices were right around the block from Marvel, so he had a guy stand in the corner, and when an artist came out, he like went over there and said, "Hey, could we talk to you about a job?" And he would take him over to the Atlas offices and offer him,
the glory days, man. Just poach anybody.
Yeah. Because they were contracted. So
they had no regular gig for most of the time,
Exactly. But supposedly he did pay better than Marvel, and that's how he got these guys to come over. Because he paid a little bit better, but unfortunately he didn't pay attention to his costs, and that bankrupted the company. All right, so it looks like we just have the concept to go. So let's do that. We're about an hour and 5 minutes in. It looks like Kenny may not be joining us, but we miss you, buddy. If you're seeing this back, we miss you. And please let us know your grades in the comments below if you come in, because we really want to know about that. Okay, concept. Who started the cover? Was that you, Miracle?
It was, yes.
Yep.
Okay, all right. So could you take us on the concept since Kenny's not here, and let us know what you thought about this concept? Do you think this was, one of those, hey, we're just putting things together that we think will sell, but we really haven't thought it through? Or is this something that had some creativity behind it?
Oh, I think it definitely has some creativity behind it, right? I mean, you don't just off the top of your head come up with the Demon Hunter guy here. I mean, he's quite a bit different. I mean, you got to look at the time, right? There was that big span where they weren't even allowed to talk about demons, let alone have a demon hunter in a comic book, right? But so this is kind of fresh. I think Buckler probably had it in mind long before he got given this comic book to do. Probably he may have even pitched it to Marvel at some point. Got turned down by it. This was his chance, because it seems quite well thought out. Like, he's a good character. The whole cape that can, with interdimensional stuff, like I said, Cloak is not coming to comic books for several years from here. So that was, an original idea. Hunting demons, being connected with this whole cult, right? Kind of starting off our story as what seemed to me a lot like he was a bad guy, right? And then he kind of turns a leaf at one point. All these things are really good to play out in as a character, and it just seems way too more thought out than, okay, we got to come up with this issue this month, quick, let's write something, right? Like I'm thinking these guys had an idea behind this for a while before they actually got a chance to write it out. So concept of this book, I think, well fleshed out and was smart, right? I really wish that this had gone on for a while, right? Because I would have liked to have read, not have to go digging up Defenders issues and then from this comic company and that company, trying to piece together the story. It would have been nice to have at least had a year of the Demon Hunter and seen where the story would have went in his own book, but wasn't to be, right? It wasn't to be. But yeah, I thought, well thought out. Very well could have become quite a popular comic if it had been given half the chance. So for the concept of this book, let's see, I wrote a really good concept, 4.
Very nice, very nice. To further muddy the waters, this character had another appearance in Galaxia magazine.
Oh boy!
There's actually 3 different iterations of this character. I have it, but I have it packed away. He's on the cover and the whole bit. So anyway, 4. Oh, strong concept from. I mean, Dave is kind of tough on those concepts sometimes. So this is impressive for just a throwaway company. Very impressive.
Yeah, I know, but not very often we get such a nice original concept, right? It's usually just well, this guy's a ripoff of Superman, and this guy's a
Mhm.
ripoff of Batman, and right, So it was nice. I liked it. It was refreshing and good.
Welcome, Ruben Guzman. Kawabanka, obviously a big TMNT fan there. He's always laying off us with the Kawabangas. He's great to see him as always.
You don't hear that often enough since the 80s are over,
Yeah, I dig it. I really do. All right, I guess you're next, Genome. I think that's the way the sequence is going. So lay on us what you think about this concept. Do you agree with Miracle that this is on the upper echelon, or is this something that didn't really quite meet your marketing or creativity expectations?
Yeah, this is a great concept. This book itself is a great concept. If they would have made a little more of a fun first issue, this may have got a little traction, because he's like one of the most unique characters that you're likely to see. Like, normally, new heroes, he's strong or he's a good fighter. This guy has a really kooky power set, which is cool though, and it seems a little more grounded in reality than Thor throwing mountains at his enemies. You know what I mean? He punches like his foes like a normal man, but he also can wield weapons that can he create them, or are they just floating around in the ether? It's inside of his cape. We don't know yet, but really cool idea. Plus, you got a guy who is not some cookie cutter good guy, right? He's got his own personal demons, pun intended, and it causes him to go out and apparently fight other demons. And now he's going to be in charge of stopping the demon invasion of Earth. Very cool idea. He's like a man alone, a man apart. We don't know of anything else in this comic universe. If there's anyone else can help fight off the evil, or is he the only one? Very cool concept. And I like his skill set. I like his backstory. And I kind of liked the fact that he's unwittingly working for the bad guys. This has happened a few times in comics, but I think it's done very well here in a way that it's a little bit weird. How does he actually join this cult and why? But it's interesting, man. He's like the hunter of eyes or whatever, or the collector of eyes. It's like, that sounds grisly on its own. Is he actually like pulling the eyeballs out of his enemies to take the sacrifice? We don't really know yet. But just a cool character. He's like Dr. Druid, but actually like adult, and I can dig on it, man. I like it a lot. It should have definitely gone farther. If they made it more fun. I don't know if the series would have made it because of the company itself, but I mean, this seems like a character that, at the time, comics were starting to shift a little more towards a little more adult stories, right? So you think the adults would have gravitated toward this book quite a bit with a character like this who's got real world problems, and he's almost like an anti-hero at this point. I dig it a lot, man. I give it a 4. I think it's really strong. I was close to giving it a 4.5, except for just, I think if you're going to do the concept, you need to do the book justice. And I don't think they did the overall book justice by making it something that everyone wants to read. It piqued my curiosity, but I didn't have a really good time reading it. So that brings it down a notch for me. But at 4, I think it's real strong. I think eyes were their souls. Yeah, that's what it seems like. Or the eyes are the windows in the soul, whatever they want to go. But good, strong concept. This is the kind of book that should help launch like a company, right? And this is way more interesting than anything I think Image ever did, as far as intro like characters and all. Maybe Spawn is up there, but I mean, it's like I really dig it. I as well wish they had kept on going, because I like to see more from this guy, especially on someone who's maybe just writing by them, writing more for fun and for entertaining and selling a comic rather than just putting brute story down there. Yeah, give it a 4. Real strong concept.
Very nice. Very nice. I can't say I disagree with most anything you said, actually. Yeah,
we'll soon find out.
Yeah, we'll soon find out. It's true enough. When I was making my concept grade, I considered quite a few things, and I think you hit a few of them. But hey, Patrick Wall, how you doing, buddy? Great to have you here. Great to see you guys here. All right, let's bring it home here with my concept. I'm not going to make myself big. So, considering, right, that we have this very small company, right, that Guzman was upset because I think his son was let go by Marvel, so he wanted to zing it to Marvel, right? And he wanted to make Marvel comics better and put them out of business. Well, maybe, I'm my theory, right? But he had some really top shelf talent work on his comics. When you're talking about Neil Adams, Bernie Wrightson, when you're talking about Ernie Colin, Chaikin, Rich Buckler, Wally Wood, Steve Ditko. Do any of those names strike a chord? Okay. You have that, and then you have the ideas behind it. You have somebody like Buckler, who this is a character that obviously he had from who knows when, and he brought it into this company. And boy, I agree. I think this character is spectacular. He's original. He's three-dimensional. He's interesting. He's different. I mean, almost everything that you could want in a new character is in here. You know, the potential here is just immense. It's really, there's no ceiling to this character. Hey, Gorilla Todd, how you doing? I think he just.
Wait a minute.
Yesterday.
That reminds me. Hold on. This Gorilla Todd has entered the chat.
So,
I got one of his.
Oh, you got Gorilla Todd in your tattoos. Great. I haven't got my tattoos yet. I can't
you haven't?
That.
Oh,
no, I haven't got it yet. So, and also they have the setup here is really interesting, right? Like you said, I mean, you know, it's somebody who came from the war, so you know, and they had obviously it's the real world issues here: alcoholism, drug use, getting into crime, all those kind of things that were, like you said, more adult themed and a little bit higher concept. I'm using the word in the right. You shouldn't do that, right? But a little bit higher concept than a lot of others, you know, where it was teenagers that somehow got imbued with powers. He already had this, and even though they're kind of not really explicitly explained, that's interesting to me because it sort of wants you, it drags you in. It just says, well, I want to know more. You know, how is it that he does this so that, you know, nobody can see that he's, you know, dressed with this huge cloak? You know, how does he know when somebody's in that room? You know, he's got some kind of sensory powers. You know, they're not explicitly explained, but they're explained enough to intrigue you. This is a comic, to me, done the right way. Again, I think the writer may not be the best for this. David Anthony Kraft is a fine writer, but he's not an exciting writer. Here you need somebody who can infuse a little more action into it, you know, somebody like a Munch, somebody like an Englehart, you know, who can really infuse a little bit more around the periphery of the character than just sort of like this one, you know, long kind of journey with gangsters and just a little bit of a inkling here of the demons that were part of the cult. You know, I really wanted something with a little more oomph to it. If that, I know that's onomatopoeia, but I wanted a little more than just a sequential story, sort of realizing where he came from and where he's going, how he morphed from essentially a hired gun. Because now he's morally compromised. He had no qualms offing that guy. He gave him at the beginning, he gave him a choice, right? He said, you can fight me or you can jump off a cliff. But either way, you're going to die. All right. So this is not a typical good guy. This is maybe more in the Punisher mold here. More the anti-hero. I think Genome said that before. So I like it. I think it's a complex character. But again, I just think the writer is probably not the best for this particular comic. So high concept, but it needs a little bit more polish for it to be a higher grade for me. But I agree with you guys. I gave it a 4. I think this character in the right hands and the right publisher could be published even today. But it is what it is. So
yeah, this is definitely the kind of character that could launch a company. I think, anyway. I mean, as an adult reader, and I don't know how well he go for kids, but
right, as an adult reader, right? Yeah, considering how derivative characters are nowadays. Of course, this is way back when, right? But still, at this point, they were still derivative characters. Well, let's kick it over to the chat. What did you guys think about this concept? Is this something that had originality behind it, creativity behind it? Was this a cash grab? Was this a desperation Hail Mary? Let us know what you think about this concept, and we'll continue discussing.
Oh man, just make it fun. It was such potential. Just make it fun a little bit.
Yeah, that's the missing ingredient is that entertainment piece. And that's a big one, unfortunately.
I mean, I don't like Spider-Man. I don't want him cranking jokes, but yeah.
What'd you say, Miracle?
I was entertained. So I was entertained.
Yeah, I didn't feel that entertained. I mean, parts of it, were interesting, intriguing, but I didn't have a lot of fun reading it.
It's not like gonna go up my top favorite issues or anything, but
See, I would love the concept of like he's like the only superpowered being on the planet, right? And so only he can stop this wave of demonic powers coming in. I think that'd be like a really cool concept.
And they do kind of allude to that. They kind of allude to that at the end there, that he may be the only one who actually even knows this is going on, you know. So kind of like the old Invaders show where only one guy saw the Martians and he can't convince anybody, so he himself has to stop them.
Then we found out his name was Orson Welles.
Oh man.
It's a simpler time back then.
It was a simpler time, yeah. You know, it's true enough.
But people can fault the hysteria in any time, so that's for sure.
Yeah.
Let's see. Any more grades? Let them be known now before I tabulate.
And I like this title much better, Demon Hunter, rather than Devil Slayer. You know, it just
yeah.
I mean, devil, really, there's only one of those, you know. Demons, they're endless.
Yep. Has a better roll of the tongue than Son of Satan, too. So
True enough. Yeah, true enough.
All right, looks like that's it. So let's see.
Oh, high praise from Biggie here. High praise from Biggie there.
Really?
Hey, Gorilla Todd, thanks for joining in the concept grade, buddy. I appreciate that.
I just hit the button, Gorilla. Thanks. Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me retabulate one.
I don't mean that sarcastically, by the way. I really appreciate, you know, sometimes, you know, there are so many channels out there doing so many things that, you know, whenever somebody's here and participates, I really do appreciate it. But Jackson, right? Speaking of Dark Demons and no Comic Man music. Yeah, he said he might come in, so maybe he's up to something tonight. So sorry about that, Jackson. Your foil wasn't here tonight.
One more second. I had to retabulate. I hate this calculator. I can't stand it.
Do a calculator.
I'm gonna send you my Texas Instruments genome.
Take a TI, whichever number you want to give me.
Just remember, you're a calculator.
True.
Solar powered.
Solar power, calorie powered, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're coming in at a chat score of a 3.
Okay, 3. All right.
A little bit
so
low, but all right. We
can
deal with it. We can deal with it. Maybe we didn't give it its proper aplomb, you know.
You know, the last couple times I've noticed the chat has been a little harsher than we have been. So
getting a little jaded. Maybe we should do something nicer from.
Oh boy!
Yeah, My Little Pony coming up next 2 weeks. Yes.
Yeah. But that's okay because, you know, again, you know, that's why we do this show, right? Because we each have a little different perspective, and obviously the chat has a very different one. All right. So overall, go ahead, Gino.
I'll say, how much more time do we got to kill, Dave? How much more time do you need?
I'm sure there's a demon hunter coming at some point here. All right, we'll leave Dave for last on this on the overall here, so he has some time there, and I'll hide it here. I'll start with the overall, so that way you guys can relax for a bit. So, all right, so this is one of those where I'm actually pretty sure about the grade, even though it sort of came out right here, right? Again, unfortunately, the story is like the weakest part here, and to me, that's perhaps the most important part. But I'm not going to drag it down just because of that, because it wasn't a terrible story. It wasn't an incomprehensible story. It just wasn't like that fun of a story. And it was a little bit too complicated, I think, for one issue. I think Genome hit it on the head. They could have split this into two, and it would have made a more coherent and a more entertaining, or at least a not as draggy a story. The cover, I think, is great, fabulous. I mean, if I saw this, I'm getting it. I'm no doubt about it. That skull, the two main, well, the demon is not really a main principle, but the two fighting on the cover, the 13 headstones, the shadowing, even the trade dress, all this screams to me coolness. I don't know how else to put it, but that, right? Hey, Jason, how you doing, Southern Comic Geek? So that's a 4.5. The art inside, it's good. Some parts, it's really darn good. Especially the bigger figures, and where he didn't ink it so heavily, I think are in the 4 range. But man, when he inked it heavy, it's so muddy, very distractingly so. The backgrounds were sparse, but the layouts were good. The story elements that the art portrayed were well done. So I give him a little bit more credit for that. So 3.5. Concept, we just went through it. 4. Fabulous character. I mean, it's just a shame that this was not something that continued on, because this had potential to be big, and it died with the line, resurrected many years later with Marvel, but it just didn't have. They never gave him his own comic or anything like that to flesh out, and it just kind of faded into obscurity. So overall, I give it a 3.5. I want to give this a 4, honestly. I really want to give this a 4. And if that story was even a tiny little bit more entertaining, I would have. But I can't. I have to go with, with the parameters that I've set for myself. But much better than a serviceable comic, with potential to be even better, with a little bit different of a writer, a little bit tighter on the inks, and you have here a potential 5 comic. All righty. I'm first. Genome, you want to take a second?
Sure. Dave's in supervillain mode right now, stroking his cats, so we'll give him some time.
Yeah, we'll give those 2 time to bond. Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's funny, is my scores were cover a 4. I liked it quite a bit. Actually, maybe the best part of it book. I don't know, but it's just, I dig it, man. It's an eye grabber, it's an eye catcher, and it's just well conceptualized and well done. Didn't even mind the gigantic trade dress, because I think it looks pretty good up there. So gave that a 4. For the story, gave it 3.5. That's probably my least favorite aspect of the book, even though there was plenty of points of interest. So it was a strange dynamic. It was interesting, but not the most entertaining book in the world. Kind of like reading War and Peace. Great story, cool book, a lot of characters, not maybe the most fun read in the world. Okay, but it was definitely better than serviceable, but it needed some work, I think. So I gave that 3.5. Interior art, I gave that 3.5 as well. Flashes of greatness, also counterpointed by some slipshod artistry and definitely questionable inks, and the lack of backgrounds really hurt this thing. So some of it reeked of either rushed or laziness, and like maybe Biggie was saying earlier, maybe people were doing some backgrounds and inking on this that shouldn't have been, like family members and stuff, just to try to save money. So yeah, I gave that a 3.5, but still much better than the average one. And concept, I gave it a 4. It's a super cool concept. Definitely a series worthy of his own. If nothing else, I think a bigger distributor should have picked them up when they folded and started working him in at least as a guest star every now and then. Anytime something supernatural happens, guess who shows up? Gideon Cross. Still, I love that name. So like my scores, I got 2 4s and 2 3 5s. So where do I put that? I'm gonna go with Metarog. I'm gonna go with 3.5. It does more things right than bad. It just wasn't that fun, unfortunately. High concept, pretty decent execution, but not much joy factor. So I'll give it 3.5. It could have been a 4 very easy, like you were saying, with some story tweaks and maybe a little more refinement on the artistry. Maybe have more just one guy working on it. So yeah, I think 3.5 is a very fair grade. Better than average. Definitely a better than average book, and definitely glad I got it. So 3.5.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. Yeah, I wanted to give this book a 4 so much, you know, because I think it's got the cool factor. It just doesn't have the fun factor, you know. And
yeah,
and that's too bad because if it had both of those,
it's the me of comic books. Yeah,
yeah, that's right. All right. What do you who was that guy with the cat? Blofeld on
yeah.
7? What did you think about the overall here, my friend?
All right, a book so nice I bought it twice. There you go. Right, I got this is my reader. This is my reader copy. This is a real nice copy. Both of these pulled out of dollar bins years ago.
Nice, very nice.
Same price. Right. I just thought I always collected number ones. Like didn't matter what it was. I'd always if it was a number one, I just grabbed it. Right. So I have a few of these Atlas comics. Not all of them like Metarog does. I can only find Hands of the Dragon, an obvious, Kung Fu Fighter ripoff, and then Warlock 2001, which is obviously John Carter ripoff of sorts. This one was no ripoff, right? This one was really unique, and I really appreciated that. I can see why a lot of these books would fail, right? Being just a straight up ripoff, like, no, we can do it better than you. And I know DC and Marvel did that to one another quite a bit. You know, DC would put out their Kung Fu book, Marvel would put out their Kung Fu book. Marvel would put out something with ninjas, DC would put out something with ninjas, you know. But those are the two big boys. And if something failed, if a comic book failed with them, it wasn't going to sink the company, right? When you're starting out day one, if you have 6 comic books that you put out and 5 of them fail, well, your company is not going to go very far. And that's a lot of what happened to Atlas. Now, I mean, I don't know if they didn't give it enough of a time to get in there. If you look at Image Comics, Image lost money for years when they first started out, but then, you know, gradually became profitable. But let's get back to this specific comic. And because of its uniqueness, because it's like just a one-shot, because this character did kind of carry on into like other comic book companies, right? It was brought forward into Marvel and stuff. The story, not that great, but not terrible, right? It's got to be an introductory story. So we kind of figure you got to hit a few key elements along here, but they stayed away from all the tropes of that first issue that I like a lot, like getting too bogged down in the tropes. It created sort of a unique story, which I really appreciated. Like I said, when I give my overall, I always ask myself, would I recommend this to somebody else? I would say definitely. You know, definitely get one of these. If you come across it in a dollar bin, even if it's a rough copy, you know, grab it for $1 and take a read. I know there's been some sort of speculation around Atlas. I think that's quieted down quite a bit. And you can probably find this for cheap out there. And just give it a read. It's not that bad. And you'd be like, hey, man, you know, you probably feel like I do and feel like you really wish that there was just a little more story to go along here, because, you know, where they ended, it seemed like they were going to go somewhere with this thing. And it wasn't poorly written, and the character was engaging. So overall, I gave it a 3.5, just because the story was a little bit, it did have a little bit to, to be desired in the story, but overall, I thought it was pretty good. Gave it a 3.5. Would I recommend it? Definitely.
Wow. You know, I hope Kenny really does come and see what his grades are, because we agreed to a great degree on all the different aspects of it. I mean, within a half a grade, I think we were on everything. So that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, we were pretty close.
Yeah. Because we have very different perspectives sometimes. So I hope Kenny chimes in here at least and lets us know his grades, because I really am curious to see what he would come up with here. Okay, so Genome, you want to do the overall of the chat, and then you can tell this fine chat 2 weeks hence the next victim of Graders Notes.
Chat score wound up being a even 3, if that could ever be considered even. So there it is. So not bad. They were just a little bit behind us. Well,
That's
today's pick,
not too bad.
I'm not going to give a choice for the chat as per usual, because I had a book that is intriguing me so much that we're going to do this one. Plus, there's a little bit of a little something for Biggie here. So in 2 weeks' time, we're going to be doing Thor number 250. Oh, wait, hold on. Sorry, I should have done this ahead of time. A little bit of green on this cover. Thor number 251. This has some comic book, what's the word I'm looking for here? Royalty working on it here. We got Kirby and Sinnott here on the cover. And inside we got some Big John Buscema. So looking forward to this book, and that will be our issue.
Very, very nice. Very nice. Yep, I have one too. Simeon will be taking my place in 2 weeks. It will be on Genome's channel. His link is below. So if for some insane reason you're not subscribed to Genome Presents, Mr. Miracle Comics, or Comichead 84, please do yourself a favor. Hit the link below. Subscribe to them. Hit the notification bell. Whatever they do is must-see stuff. All right, before we get out of here, first of all, let's thank this chat because they were engaged. They had some good input. Comic Mad Musings comes in here at the very last minute.
He's like that guy shows up at the dinner, so he doesn't have to pay. He just eats off your plate, you know.
he's the bus boy taking the dishes and just having his own little plate back there.
You didn't eat that cheese stick. Well, I don't think he touched it. Yeah. Hello, Bill.
It's great to see you, Bill. So thanks again to this chat. Really, really great stuff from the chat. I really enjoy this show because they have this input. Biggie is his usual great, larger than life self. So again, 2 weeks. Genome Presents Thor 251. Unruly Simeon will be taking my place, so things will probably get a lot more succinct than if I was doing it. So thank you, Wayne, for filling in for me because my mother is turning 87, so I'm going to be celebrating her birthday on that day. So, gentlemen, what do you guys have on your channels? I know Mr. Miracle tomorrow is having another top five. Right? Top 5 more undervalued, of course. And you're doing that every week. Yeah. Is that the thing now? Every week?
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks. Okay. All right. Great. Yeah. Good stuff. I always like to see it, and then I'm like, oh, I got that one. I usually have like 1 or 2 of them. Hold on a second. We forgot. Look at that.
It's not that great today. I didn't have as much time without Kenny being here.
Yeah, without Kenny being here. Yeah.
I'm not too happy with that one, but next time.
Got kind of a Greatest American Hero vibe. I like it.
Do you have the instructions to the suit?
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's cool, Miracle. I love when you do that, man. I love it. So every 2 weeks, Mr. Miracle will have his undervalued. Trust me. How many views did you get last time? Like 5,000 or something? I mean, just an insane amount of views.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I usually get around, 4,000 or 5,000.
Yeah.
He's on the forefront. He's on the spear tip of the speculator market right now. So
you disgust me. You disgust me with your views.
Yeah, me too.
Oh man. Genome, you have anything up? I know tomorrow, Friday nights, you're doing the hangouts with Jay.
Yep. Tomorrow night, Friday night hangouts. Saturday, we should be doing part 2 of 2 Mules for Sister Sarah. So we get the second mule now. We can see. We only had the first half of the movie for whatever reason for last Saturday show. So assuming we get it, we'll do that Saturday night as well, with the great Bill Miller and Jackson Roy Kirk attending as well. So always a fun time. I think next Monday, I am due to do the next in the horror Hammer films, which I think is Dracula AD or something like that. I can't remember which one it is, but so we got that one coming up. But But that's basically just about it. And I will probably have some more Conans. If I ever get around to shooting, I got some more Conan books in that I need to, because I was trying to flesh out my whole Buscema run with the Conans, but I just haven't shot the videos yet. So we'll see if I'm going to do that. But so I'm mostly working on the gaming channel right now.
Okay.
So that's what's going on there.
Great. Yeah, I've seen your gaming channel a few times. I've some cool stuff there. The Marvel.
It's Marvel tie-in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, Mr. Miracle, looks like you're being invited.
Hey, Miracle, I'm going to start a friendly drawing show on Sundays. Yeah, I'd love to come draw for you, Gorilla Todd. That'd be fun.
All right, cool. See, I love the community interaction. Yeah, I love it. All right, I'll take it home and then we'll get out of here, guys. My Grow Together contest has vested. So I will probably be doing the drawing sometime this weekend. So if you want to get in my roundup from a month back, just go in there, put in subbed, subscribe to the channels on the list. There's only 5 of them, and you're in. So probably Sunday I will be doing the drawing, but I'm cutting it off on Saturday. So if you had to do it by Saturday, and then on Thursday I'm going to do a special video. I think I'm going to do something about Secret Wars 2. I've got a few little nuances that I want to talk about back.
We did that once and we got eviscerated. That was a chat pick too.
We did the comic, yeah. That's right.
There was one really cool angle in that one, was when Mephisto got involved and he took over like all the bad guys on Earth to try to stop the Beyonder. That was a really cool angle, and Ben Grimm was in there too.
Oh yeah, the big mountain of characters trying to take him down, and he's
sitting on a log. It was so cool. But that was a really cool part of that book. And by the way, in case you didn't know, the dude behind me is actually a demon hunter. That's why I picked him for. It's from World of Warcraft. So that's why I picked him for my background to go with the book.
That is, let me tell you, that is, man, that would send me if I was a demon screaming to wherever, but him, So, all right, gentlemen, let's all go and get out of here and go talk to the wives. Tell them that we're still alive. We survived another GN here. Anything else you want to say before we get out of here, Kenny? We missed you.
Miss you, brother.
We know that you are a busy guy, so we appreciate you. Hopefully, you can be here in 2 weeks because I won't be, but Simeon will be here. Thank God that we have the greatest pinch hitter in the business here on Graders Notes. Okay.
It's been a while since we had Simeon on.
It has been
a while. Yeah, it has been a while. So in a sense, I'm glad, but I wish I could review that comic because I love that Thor run. I just love that Thor run in the 70s. It's just such good stuff. But I'm going to read it. I'm going to be in the chat, and I'll be, participating that way.
Awesome.
All right, chat. Everybody knows what I'm going to say. And to you guys, you're the best. Right? Graders Notes Brothers and the chat. Everybody be blessed. Be back in 2 weeks on Genome's channel. We love you. See you then.